Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, the 6th of July, 2022, and a lot has been going on in the last few days. Again, still, I'm not going to lie. And so I don't know if this is going to be just like a news by dawn thing moving forward or not. We'll see. But over the weekend, again, I've said this many times that big things got implemented on the weekends. And what happened this weekend? We have Omar, another ridiculous, uneducated person that we are paying in Canada to lead us out of this ridiculous mess we're in, telling us now that we need these jabs every 9 months now, and I laugh because if I don't laugh, I'll cry. It's just ridiculous to me. And an ArriveCan app, they're saying that they want that to be permanent. And so again, digital ID, it's no one's business. It's my right as a Canadian citizen to be able to enter my own country without having to download an app and answer like a lot of invasive questions when I don't need to. Like we don't need to get to this point in our lives. And so fines have been given out for people that have been entering Canada. CVSA officers seem to be hit or miss on their tolerance for this stuff, and personally I don't care if they're tolerant or not to this stuff. They're enabling ridiculous mandates. And so like for anyone that's like opposed to this at the border, like that's for you as well. And again, there's not a lot of these people, but I mean it's in all levels of society now. And so being very peaceful and kind and understanding is like the way through this. So like when you're going through the border, being peaceful, being nice, but just saying like your rights, and you're a permanent citizen or or whatever, permanent resident, and then there should be no issues with you being able to enter your own country. And so for anyone that tries to resist that, like I'm sorry. And then they say like oh, they try to refer us or give us the opportunity to call Public Health Ontario. Cool. Do you want me to forward you the emails the last few years that I've sent to Public Health Ontario, the phone calls that I've made, the unanswered voicemails and stuff like that? Do you want me because yeah, Public Health Ontario and the people that I have talked to, whenever I've explained to them the information that I have that's concerning, and like they always say like they're always flustered, overwhelmed. They don't know how to respond, and they say like they give me other numbers for people that are higher up the chain, and so yeah, so I'll just like whatever, I'll show you the same stuff that I've shared with a lot of other people over the last couple of years. The debunked science, the fact that there's waning meat, like there's so many issues. Oh my god, with what we're doing in Canada. And it's not like that in the rest of the world either, by the way. We're the last ones to have like these ridiculous mandates, and it's because Justin Trudeau, he just bought a lot of what these are, and he needs to try to find a way of justifying it because of all the money he wasted. But at first, do no harm. Okay, so like anyone in government right now that's still trying to force this on us after all of the like adverse events that have been happening, even more recently coming out, because like they still try to cover up a lot of the vaccine injuries. But there's too much data coming out, and so I'm over that. When there's bigger things that we need to be addressing and talking about right now, especially with what's going on with China, and like this 9 mile line or whatever you want to call it issue, and what's going on with the escalations in Taiwan. These are all not good for Canada, for NATO, and I know that people don't understand that here because they're so far removed from it, but we need to pay attention to this stuff. And NATO, like our response right now is just so, like I've already discussed it, but erratic and like an escalator of force that's not needed when there's other countries that are not appreciating the way that we've done business in the past, and they certainly don't want that to happen in the future. And there's a lot of countries that are concerned that they're going to get impacted by these new NATO alliances trying to go against Russia or whoever they think they're going against. But it's there's lies. We're still being manipulated. The so many people in Ukraine that were part of the the advisory staff, they've been fired or they've resigned. I've said that even a few months ago. Even the Uvalde actually police chief, like he resigned recently too because that was a massive um, planned, and I know that sounds fucked, planned event. And but even not even just on the weekend, but July 4th, for example, and July 5th were big days for Gematria, sacred geometry, Freemasonry, um, Jesuit, Hebrew, like ancient Kabbalah type, like numerology, and so on July 4th, you know, that's 74. 74 is tied to active shooter, Independence Day, killing, um, tarot, energy, occult, Oregon. Anyways, there's a lot of things associated with that number, but also on July 4th, it was the 246th birthday of the United States, and then we had that active shooter whose name is also correlated with 74, and actually Cavelli, the officer that was speaking about the active shooter, his name is also associated with 33, and the vehicle that was behind him as he was speaking had the number 33 on it, and these are not just coincidences. And so on the 246th birthday of the United States, there was 6 people killed at that time, and 24 people injured, so 246. And so like my predictions were that there was going to be some type of a of a like a mass killing event or injury event, and yeah, and so like these are all just like, don't go down these rabbit holes if you don't have to. Like I've been in like the security and government industry, I guess, for like most of my life, so like that's why this stuff, I pay more attention to it. But even yesterday, for example, I don't even usually say this stuff out loud or admit it because it sounds so nuts, but like July 5th, yesterday, it was month 7, and then on the 5th day, and so 7-5. If you and I know this sounds ridiculous too, but like even before yesterday, I was saying about the talking about CERN and the Hadron Collider, because even Hadron Collider in Gematria is it can be correlated with 75, and so it's been over 3 years since they've started up their system, or wanted to like redo their particle, their tests. What did they announce yesterday, or start yesterday? That after over 3 years, and also just announced that they found new particles, or like new, like rare, like whatever you want to call it, particles. Yeah, all very interesting things. And the Hadron Collider, like using photons um, in their in that vacuum, the zero gravity. Anyway, I don't like, so that made me a little bit nervous yesterday. So I'm like, why are we messing with this stuff when we can clearly see from like from what Google provides us on these fake ass maps that they gave us? But like you could see like in a lot of terrain too that there's been like bombardments of like mass explosions, whatever you want to call it, or even from like beyond this firmament. I don't know how, but like that has like caused a lot of damage in like a lot of areas, even like in Canada, like in like our northern areas, like in the islands, and then even in Alaska, there's a lot of areas that look like they've been like decimated by like explosions, or like just like really heavy like materials. It could even be like meteorite types stuff, and damaged like a lot of areas, and because it looks like it's a naturally occurring thing, sort of, then we just overlook it and we don't explore more. And there's more in the news now too about like inner Earth explorations, and possible civilizations being found in Antarctica and in China and in other areas of the world, and I'm sure in Canada too, in the northern areas that we haven't been to in a while. We would, if we started like doing more research and exploring, we would possibly encounter like the same type of stuff. And even in Uganda, actually, interesting enough, just yesterday, I shared this on my social media, but they found 31 tons of gold, which is huge, and it's gonna like impact the market. And I think that's a good thing though, because like I think gold is a precious element, and it has healing properties and conductivity properties, and it doesn't erode or corrode as much as other elements, and so and it's nice for jewelry, and some people even ingest it. So yeah, like just like, I guess a little bit positive stuff coming out in the last few days. But that's why, yeah, like with the whole Hadron Collider thing in CERN, like I don't know how much of this is coincidences or not, and so yeah, Oregon. I don't know if I said that was also associated with the number 74. Another thing I wanted to bring up is because like this all relates to like we are being lied to about basic things, in my humble opinion, about gravity and about like how like we're not really like exploring like the Apple thing as much as we should be um with like factoring in like mass and space and time, and and just how like even in the air, like like in our natural environment above water, there's water in this in like here, right? And like we exchange oxygen with carbon. Anyway, so it's in the air. I don't want to get distracted by talking about anatomy like any further than I need to, because like these videos need to be shorter. But like an apple, like it's in like in the air, when it drops, like if it drops on the ground, then like that's like a barrier or whatever you want to call it. And if it would have like landed in water, like I said in yesterday's video, when Isaac Newton was observing the apple, then he would have noticed or realized that like he was only looking at half the research, and he wasn't like factoring in the fact that if the apple would have landed in the water, then it wouldn't have it would have floated, and it's based on density and mass and space and stuff like that. Um, and and yeah, so things as simple as that, like it makes me consider that maybe people are just intentionally lying to us. And yeah, like just like too many questions with all of this stuff. And another thing that I was looking at yesterday, because I've been doing a lot more research again on like this flat Earth theory stuff, even though it's like a hologram, that's like very heavily dependent on like this electrical magnetic toroidal field that we have, or these fields that we have. There still is like a North Pole, and there's a difference between like geomagnetic north and true north and whatever you want to call it on the map. But I think like Ellesmere Island, Canada, is where like the magnetic North Pole might be still now, and but we want to get to like be like to the north, like the center of the world. Like that's where I want to go. This Hyperborea area, which is possibly again where like there's like these four, like land masses that are divided by rivers, and there's like a mountain in the middle that's like possibly magnetic, that like impacts like the world or whatever. And that would mean that Antarctica again is like on the exterior of this like firmament or whatever. And it's like a lot of Antarctica, like, or that area is controlled by government. And interestingly enough, in Antarctica, like the South Pole, it's there's a Vostok Russian station, research station, or whatever you want to call it, station there, and that's where like the South Pole is apparently located. And Vostok is Russian for east in Antarctica. And why I thought that was so fascinating is because a lot of the ancient stuff that I was looking at, regarding maps and geography and even like coordinates and stuff like that, I'm being led to believe that we're sort of being like lied to about that, or misled with that as well, and where like or we're just like lost in translation, I don't know, but where north or the center, that was technically being meant traveling west. And so like north was west, and then east can be seen in some areas as like going beyond like the center, so going outwards. So I guess like if you're at the North Pole, then like no matter where you are headed, you'd be going south. But like on the compass, but that technically being what a lot of people were calling east, and I don't know why. I forget now, but it had something to do with like there's meaning in names too, in languages, but like sorry, in words. And so east, there's some type of an ancient background derived from that being part of why it was being called like the way out of this multidimensional artificial reality. And a lot of interesting theories suggest that people are trying to get beyond this firmament. Um, and if and when they do, there might be like catastrophic events that happen for the remainder of us on Earth, or at least some of us, depending on where we are in the world. But things to consider and factor in. Um, and yeah, I think that on that note, I think I already discussed um, like what's going to be going on possibly before like the 10th of August, which would be that a sitting president would pass away by whatever reason, and that a female would become the first president. Um, and there's like links and associations with not only just gematria and like and numerology, but also with predictions and people. So predictions made in the Herbert Hoover building about this possibly happening, and there's just like weird correlations between Hoover's death and Kamala Harris's birth, and why they're associating that with this possibly being the time in the year that this may or may not happen. And then by numbers also like predictions about Justin Trudeau being voted out by a vote of non-confidence. And there's been polls going around recently, only in the last 24 hours, where people are calling for his for like a non-confidence vote. They're out, like people are calling for this, and with the last I looked at it, it was like 91% of people wanted that to happen. Out of the people that, I don't know how many people voted, they didn't show it, but I'm assuming it was a couple thousand at least, and that's like circulating around, and so a lot of people are calling for that, which is really weird because like I was saying this even a couple weeks ago. I'm like, how weird would that be? Because it's like now NDP and like they're aligned with liberals. And so if this prediction happens too with Canada, it would mean that like the liberal, sorry, conservative leader would win, and then the liberal leader would be out or voted out or removed because of a vote of non-confidence or whatever. It's a stretch, but who knows, right? We have until the end of the year to find out this stuff. Um, and I've already talked about possible fake alien invasions in other videos. That's still again like possibly like on the radar before the end of the year too. These are really big, crazy things, and I know that, and that's why it's like I feel compelled to talk about these on these videos. Because yeah, even like the flat Earth theory stuff and the evolution, there's just a lot of scientists and a lot of people with PhDs that have been lying to us for many generations. Kissinger as well, and we need to do better. And I'm worried about like these new leaders that are coming out. These like I'm hoping that like we don't have like ecclesiastic ways of leadership or rulership. And I posted this yesterday too, coming up ahead, because with ecclesiastic rulership or leadership, that always ends the worst. Okay, that ends in worse dictatorships and worse tyranny. And there's a lot more persecution. There's a lot more violence and death when people are led under these systems of governance. And so in the U.S., the Supreme Courts now, there's a majority that are of a certain religious group, which is a little concerning. And I'm all for religions, obviously. Like I'm not against religions. I do believe that there's there's multiple beings that are higher levels of consciousness and awareness than me. I do believe that we all have the same creator, source, whatever you want to call this being, God or Yahweh or Zoroaster or Krishna or Buddha or Shiva. I don't care what you guys want to call this source creator. But so what I'm saying is our interpretations of things of life, reality, whatever you want to call it, and the occult, which means hidden, is unclear at best, and so we should not be governing using like ways that where it's so where it leads to death. Like that seems to be like the solutions. Like there's no room for empathy, compassion, care, understanding, forgiveness. I know that's part of like what religions claim to be, but once they once they go beyond the what they're supposed to be, and once they're manipulated or used um, for evil things or whatever you want to call it, then it gets really bad, and it's almost impossible to um, to turn around without a revolution, and we don't want that stuff, right? And so it would just be it'll be interesting to see how the next few months play out with what's going on around the world and with the mandates in Canada and like all the lies our media is pushing still, just because they're trying to save face, even though most people know that they've been lied to by this point, and they're over everything, over mandates, over boosters, over all that stuff. Like even people that are double jabbed, like they will not take boosters. They don't want ArriveCan, none of that stuff. People are over it, and now whatever the media is saying about like these new variants and whatever else, people are not taking it seriously now, and so they need to like just give up on this, fire people, jail people, get over this stuff, hire new people, even if they have to like mandate people that are good for the job to do it, let them do it, and then just factor in like a few things regarding like we need to put a lot more emphasis on like the qualifications too of the people that we're hiring for cabinet, and this has been brought up a lot more lately too, with like a whole bunch of other different professionals have to have certifications and qualifications and annual recertifications, and no one in cabinet has to, or in our or that are governing us or leading us in like these higher levels of cabinet, making decisions for us at the federal, municipal, or provincial levels, right? And so that's BS. Like if you only have to serve 4 years and you got a full pension, and all you're doing is riding out your 4 years, and or do nothing, and people like me are emailing you or trying to inform you of how to like problem solve like current events based off of what they're saying on C-SPAN and in house meetings and committees and on social media, and when you're saying like what you're doing is actually not the path ahead, and you're trying to offer advice and stuff like that, and they're not listening because they're lazy and ignorant, and ego is getting in the way, and they don't care. It's frustrating, and so if there was more qualifications that needed to be met, and panels put together for people when they do come in, for people to be assessed, because like even when I was at the special forces, like there was obviously a selection process even beyond just having to be like really good in the regular army. You also had to like go through a process, and there was a lot of screening, and I think that's required too, especially for like a prime minister, or if someone's going to be the chief of defense staff and you don't even have like conduct after capture under your belt, or hostile environment awareness training, and like I'm trying to share information with you, and you're like, oh, like I'm a big man, I'm in a uniform, like you shouldn't tell me what to do. My mommy says that like what I'm doing is important, and anything or anyone that says otherwise, they're just being mean, bro. Read your fucking emails, okay? Because I don't give a shit about your background. You ain't shit right now, because what you're doing is wrong. It's continuing to be wrong. And yeah, like I'm just gonna keep on with that too. And Brenda Lucky, head of RCMP, should be jailed. So many other people. I keep on going this list at the end, but I don't want this to be ending on a bad note. But yes, I don't want it to end on a bad note. I hope that the rest of the week goes a little bit like more like normal the last few days, again, just because of like the gematria on these numbers, these sacred numbers. I was a little nervous Monday and Tuesday about what, like events, but the rest of the week seems to be a little bit less kind of like anxious. So on that note, I hope everyone has a wonderful day.